In the headlines, search and rescue operation continues in Kwara State after over 50 dead bodies are recovered from the river. 23 killed as gunmen invade several villages in Jos. Kano State Governor demolishes multi-million naira government house roundabout. And on the foreign scene, Kenya's starvation called death toll reaches 303 after new bodies are recovered. Many thanks for joining us on Trust TV News Hour. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you very much for joining us on the news update. We start in Kwara, where rescue and search operation is continuing in Kwara State after a ferry conveying over 100 persons capsized in the river. The incident occurred in the early hours of Tuesday as the passengers were returning to Ebu village in Patigi area of Kwara State. Police spokesperson in the state, SP Ajayi Okesami, said about 103 people or bodies have so far been recovered. A traditional ruler of the area, Esu Pategi Ibrahim Umar, also confirmed that many have died after the incident and that 50 dead bodies have been recovered. In the meantime, search and rescue operation is still ongoing to retrieve others. An attack by gunmen has killed at least 23 people in separate attacks in Jos. The police said this on Tuesday in the latest violence within an area struggling with clashes between herders and local farmers. 2 cattle herders were killed on Sunday before 21 farmers were killed in attacks later in several villages across Plateau State. In a statement by the state governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutwang, he says he was saddened by the killings and saying the security situation has become, quote, alarming. Clashes between nomadic herders and farmers over land, resources, and water are common in several parts of Nigeria, including the central and northwestern states. But violence often spirals into attacks and mass kidnappings by heavily armed gangs and vigilante groups set up to protect communities. The local leader of the Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria in Plateau State, Bello Tafawa, told AFP that 2 herders were shot dead on Sunday evening on their way home in an unprovoked attack. In Kano, the state governor, Abba Kabir, on Wednesday morning continued his demolition exercise in the state by collapsing the multi-million naira roundabout located close to the state government house entrance. The governor was said to have personally supervised the demolition of the roundabout, which is only a few meters away. The multi-million naira roundabout was remodeled and renovated by the immediate past administration of Governor Abdullahi Ganduje at the cost of 160 million naira in 2017. The governor had in the early hours of Sunday demolished shops built by the fence of the Sani Abacha Stadium at Kofar Mata, GSS Kofar Nasarawa facing IBB Road, and buildings by the Government Girls Secondary School, Dukawiya in Goron Dutse. Now, the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate in the just concluded presidential election, Atiku Abubakar, wants the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, subpoenaed to appear before the tribunal to identify documents obtained from the commission but rejected by INEC lawyers when tendered. This was said after the election umpire in the country rejected some documents. PDP also tendered its star witness on Tuesday to testify against the victory of Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the 2023 presidential election. In the same vein, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has tendered additional 188 exhibits before the tribunal.
Yes, well, you see, today we called our star witness who gave very robust evidence. And you see, in the course of his evidence, he also tendered those video clips, very important video clips, showing the INEC chairman making the commitment to Nigerians for that real-time transmission of the results by the BVAS machine to the IREF. And you see, with that established, we are very, very happy with what has happened today. And he also tendered even screenshots from the IREF. You saw the documents tendered. So when we now mentioned that we had subpoenaed the INEC chairman, you can see that there are some documents we tendered and they objected to. But now we are also subpoenaing them to come by themselves and produce those documents. Yeah. Those documents, let them produce them themselves so that we'll know whether they will object or not object to the ones they will produce by themselves.
In other news, members of the Borno State House of Assembly have re-elected Abdul Karim Lawan as the Speaker of the House for the 4th term. Abdul Karim Lawan becomes the longest-serving Speaker of the Borno State House of Assembly since 2012. Bitrus Kurusi has more.
The Borno State House of Assembly began its Tuesday plenary with the nominations for the seats of the Speaker and Deputy Speaker. The nominations of Abdul Karim Lawan and Abdullahi Musa as Speaker and Deputy were unopposed. They were sworn in without objection.
I will.
And that I will.
Preserve. Protect. And defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
And defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
So help me God.
So help me God.
The Speaker, Abdul Karim Lawan, said he will focus on agriculture, education, security, health, among others. He added that the legislature will work with the state government for the development of the state.
To achieve those goals, we will ensure all legal appropriate laws are passed toward ensuring good governance. At this juncture, I ask my colleagues to tighten belts to work with our long-haired governor, Professor Maroga Nzarabin, in the 10th Borno State House of Assembly. The 10th Borno State House of Assembly will do all within its power to see that conditions of service are controlled, open and staff welfare is given top priority.
The Speaker of the 10th Borno State House of Assembly is from Guzamala constituency, where Boko Haram terrorists are still in control of some parts of the area. Bitrus Kurusi, Trust TV News, Maiduguri.
In Adamawa State, a physically challenged member representing Hong constituency at the State Assembly, Batia Wellesley, has emerged Speaker of the State House of Assembly. The election of Wesley has elicited excitement among people with physical disability in the state. Here's Silas Lawan with the rest of the story.
What we are yearning for as a persons with disability is the issue of the establishment of the Adamawa State Disability Rights Commission. This law was passed in 2016.
The 25 members of the 8th Adamawa Assembly were sworn on Tuesday. The emergence of Batia from among the people living with disability as the Speaker of the Adamawa State House of Assembly after a kingly contest raises hope of persons with disability.
For employment opportunities, because persons with disability have been able to go to school and acquire education, but most of them, they are unemployed, and most of them are on street begging, begging for survival, which we are not happy about it, but we are expecting with the current government and some of the key cabinets who have been sworn in today, we are optimistic that employment opportunities will be given to persons with disability. Nothing for us without us.
After the inauguration of the 25 members of the Adamawa 8th Assembly, expectations are high, and the new Speaker Batia promised to lead an open doors policy and be fair to all.
As a new Speaker, I will work assiduously with my colleague to consolidate on the achievement of my predecessors. I will work for the protection and promotion of the right of the legislative arms of government. I want to seize this opportunity to thank His Excellency, Right Honorable Ahmadu Umar Fintiri, for his unflinching support to the legislative arm. since his inception as the governor of Adamawa State. I urge him to continue with the good job. I also thank him for the tremendous development stride in the state.
While some people are demanding good representation to address frequent farmer herder crisis in the state, others want welfare of the people to be taken into consideration.
Because I so much believe if there is a strong law on this between those farmers and the Fulani or the herdsmen, I so much believe things will work out well. If they can take a strong law on them, let there be rules and regulation. If Fulani man or herdsman violates the regulation, they will be called upon. If farmer violates, they will be called upon. Let there be mutual understanding between the farmers and the Fulani men.
Now that the governor got another mandate for 4 years, we pray he will pay back those who assist him and every resident in terms of welfare.
Stakeholders are optimistic the second term of the governor will not be restricted to road construction but affect every other aspect of human life. Bathia will pilot the affairs of the 8th Adamawa State House of Assembly in the next 4 years. Salis Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
Elsewhere, a member representing Makera Kakuri constituency, Dahiru Liman, has emerged Speaker of the Kaduna State House of Assembly. Henry Danjuma, a member representing Kagarko constituency, was elected Deputy Speaker of the House of Assembly. Bello Musa reports that the new principles of the House emerge through consensus.
Well-being and prosperity of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That I will strive.
In his remarks immediately after he was sworn in by the clerk of the House, Sakinat Hassan, the new Speaker, Dahiru Liman, pledged to have a united assembly, assuring that the legislature will closely work with the executive arm for betterment of the state.
I pledge to promote and maintain a good and cordial working relationship with the executive arm of government as legislature. We are duly bound to provide effective oversight on the activities and policies of the government. We will work closely with the executive arm to ensure that need and aspiration of our constituents are met.
Kaduna State Governor Ubasani, who received the new speaker at the Sir Kashim Ibrahim House after the inauguration, also assured him of a cordial relationship with the members of the assembly.
I believe we have to cooperate. We have to work together as one family, and I can assure you, by the grace of God, here in Kaduna, we will not discriminate against anyone.
APC maintains its majority in the assembly. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Back to Adamawa State, where Governor Umaru Fintri has urged the newly appointed Secretary to the State Government, the Chief of Staff and the Head of Service to prioritize the welfare of the citizens, especially the vulnerable and marginalized groups in the society. Salis Lawan reports that the Governor gave the charge while swearing in the new appointees in Yola, the state capital.
The Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The new secretary to the Adamawa State Government, Awal Tukur, who is the son of the former governor of Old Gongola State, was picked ahead of the immediate past SSG Ahmed Bashir, who many believed worked against his immediate constituency, Yola North, in last election. The governor also inaugurated the head of civil service of the state, Shehu Isa Arbo, and Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Afremon Jingi. Speaking after administering the oath of office on the 4 appointees, Governor Umaru admonished them to consider their appointment as a call to serve the populace.
I urge you to work tirelessly in the discharge of your duties, keeping the interests of the people of Adamawa State at the forefront of your minds. As you assume your new roles, I implore you to embrace teamwork and collaboration. Together with other members of the cabinet that will soon be appointed, I expect you to foster a harmonious and inclusive working environment where ideas are freely shared and decisions are made in the best interests of our people.
The secretary to the state government, Awal Tukuru, pledges on behalf of others to give in their best for even development of the state.
We all understand that leadership is not merely a title or a position. It is a responsibility to serve the people with integrity, with empathy, and with fairness. We also further recognize the significance of teamwork and collaboration.
The new appointees were encouraged to seek innovative approaches to governance, tapping into the vast potential of Adamawa State toward ensuring that every citizen has a voice and a stake in the government. Salis Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, we take a look at the effects of dumping refuse indiscriminately. More news coming up ahead. Stay with us. Welcome back and thank you very much for staying with us on the news update on Trust TV. First, a look at the stories making the headlines. Search and rescue operation continues in Kwara State after over 50 bodies are recovered from boat mishap. 23 persons have been killed by gunmen in several villages in Jos. Now, the Nasarawa State chapter of the Nigeria Medical Association has given a 21-day strike ultimatum to Governor Abdullahi Sule over the poor welfare package of doctors across the 13 local government areas of the state. Addressing journalists in Lafia, the state capital, on Tuesday, the state chairman of the NMA in the state, Dr. Peter Atta, affirmed that failure of the state government to implement the doctors' demands within the period given to the state government, the association will have no other alternative than to declare indefinite industrial action.
The issues around the ultimatum that we served them, they were just 5 issues that we feel these are issues that the government can actually attend to in the immediate time so that we can restore services, we can guarantee services, because our members are actually passing through a lot of hell, ranging from the recent Japan syndrome, where a lot of healthcare workers, especially the doctors, are living in droves. And then even the few that are on ground, they are not being encouraged.
The Task Force on Environmental Sanitation, constituted by Sokoto State Governor Ahmed Aliyu, has commenced the evacuation of solid waste in the state. Some major roads in the state's metropolis have been taken over by refuse because the designated sites for dumping the refuse have been overstretched. Abubakar Awal Imam reports that the task force chairman, Umar Nkwabo, blamed the previous administration for not paying attention to environmental sanitation, thus leaving residents to dump refuse indiscriminately. His report.
Residents of Sokoto State heaved a sign of relief after the refuse, which had formed fountains of embarrassment in the state metropolis, are being evacuated by the task force committee constituted by the state governments. The residents had been complaining about the indiscriminate dumping of refuse along the major roads, disrupting vehicular movements. This refuse has been here for 6 months because the previous administration didn't pay attention to it, despite series of complaints from the residents. But the residents have spoken. They have done their part by removing their governments, and this should serve as a lesson to our leaders. They should try to be fair and just. This refuse is a source of concern, especially during this rainy season, when people can easily contract disease. We will ensure all refuse are evacuated. I'm appealing to the general public to support these governments by dumping refuse on the designated sites. An environmental sanitation tribunal will soon be inaugurated to deal with those who are violating environmental law.
The 27-member committee, being led by Umaru Kobo AA, a businessman and philanthropist, today flagged off mass refuse evacuation exercise at the Al-Mustafa roads. According to the committee, the exercise will last for 2 weeks.
Right, on the international scene, the number of people who died after a Kenyan pastor ordered his followers to starve to death in order to meet Jesus has surpassed 300. The death toll increased to 303 after 19 more bodies were recovered from mass graves in the vast forested land in Kilifi County of coastal Kenya, where Pastor Paul Mackenzie and his followers lived. Coastal Regional Commissioner Rhoda Onyacha says that 613 people tied to the area remain missing. On Monday, 65 of the 95 parishioners whom authorities say they have rescued from the property were charged with attempting suicide after they staged a hunger strike to protest being held at a shelter. They were moved to a jail, and the police went to Mackenzie's property in April after investigators received a tip that dozens of people were starving to death after their pastor told them it was a way to meet Jesus. The emaciated followers were treated at a Malindi hospital before they were taken to the shelter. Kenyan President William Ruto has likened Mackenzie to a terrorist. Mackenzie is expected back in court this week after police were granted more time to hold him pending investigations. Before his arrest in April, the pastor had been charged in connection with the disappearance of children but was released on bond. Kenya President William Ruto likened the pastor to a terrorist, and according to the Interior Minister Kindiki Kature, says more graves were earmarked for exhumation. He suggested the pastor might be charged on terrorism or genocide-related offenses. Now, at least 17 people have died and more than 100 others were rescued after a fishing boat carrying migrants and refugees capsized and sank off the southern coast of Greece. The Greek Coast Guard said 17 people died early on Wednesday after their ship sank off the Peloponnese coast. The accident occurred in international waters and the Ionian Sea and had prompted an extensive rescue operation complicated by strong winds, according to the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard also says that 4 of the survivors were hospitalized with symptoms of hypothermia. 6 Coast Guard vessels, a Navy frigate, a military transport and an Air Force helicopter, as well as several private vessels, were taking part in the search for those missing. The Italy-bound boat is believed to have sailed from the Tobruk area in eastern Libya. Greek authorities and the European Union Border Protection Agency, Frontex, were first alerted about the approaching vessel by the Italian Coast Guard. Now in sports, Reading say centre-back Naby Sarr is poised to leave the club to join Qatari side Al Makia. The club expected the 29-year-old to trigger a relegation release clause in his contract, which was due to run until the summer of 2026. Now, the ex-France under-21 international moved to Reading on a free transfer from Huddersfield Town last summer. He played 25 times and scored on his debut in a 1-0 victory at Millwall in August, but was injured soon after. Sarr was sidelined for 3 months before returning to the Royal side in December. But he could not help them stave off a relegation to League One after the club was given a 6-point penalty by the EFL for breaching the terms of a profit and sustainability plan to manage their spending. Still staying with English football, Newcastle United have signed Gambian winger Yankuba Minteh from Danish side Odense. The Magpies say the 18-year-old will officially join them on the 1st of July before moving to Dutch side Feyenoord on loan for the 2023-2024 season. Minteh had 4 goals and 6 assists in 17 Superliga matches last season. Minteh moved to Denmark last July after beginning his career at Gambian side Steve Biko FC. He has also played twice for Gambia in friendly internationals against DR Congo and Liberia. And that's the size of our update at this hour. Many thanks for your time and company. Feel free to follow us on social media and do follow our live stream on YouTube. My name is Abdullah Ahmed. Thank you for watching.